Long before the internet, long before language or writing, humans were already connected. They shared danger with gestures, stored knowledge in stories, and passed survival codes from mind to mind. It was the first invisible network, a Stone Age internet, where humans were the servers and memory was the technology. Today, we uncover how our ancestors built the world's first communication system, without a single machine. If that sounds unbelievable, then do me one favor, tap like, hit subscribe, because this series is just getting started. Now, let's go back to the beginning, to the moment the human mind became the world's first network. Intro: the code before civilization. For centuries, historians believe that human civilization began with simple tools, rocks, fire, and basic survival instincts. But what if that story was incomplete? What if the primitive humans of the Stone Age had something far more advanced, something closer to a network, a system, a form of information exchange that modern science has only begun to understand? This is not the story of technology created by machines. This is the story of technology created by time, memory, and stone. A story that challenges everything we know about communication, intelligence, and ancient human potential. This is the story of the Stone Age Internet and the forgotten algorithms carved into the bones of history. In the summer of 2022, a team of archaeologists from Sweden were conducting a routine excavation near Lake Vaganen area, known for Mesolithic artifacts. They expected animal bones, stone tools, maybe remnants of primitive shelter, but instead they found something that made no sense. A collection of 23 flat stones, arranged in a perfect spiral, each carved with symbols that were not pictographs, not runes, not language, but patterns, repeating sequences, and directional markers that resembled code. Dr. Helena Forsberg, the expedition lead, was the first to notice the strange symmetry. These symbols behave like instructions, she said, not stories, not decorations. They resemble operations. Her words were dismissed by the team at first, but that changed when they discovered the central stone, a large circular slab with a carved grid of tiny dots, 273 of them arranged in a formation shockingly similar to a modern routing map. The team had no explanation, but Helena had a hypothesis. What if ancient people developed a non-electronic system of communication like a prehistoric network? She didn't know it yet, but this was only the beginning. Word of the discovery reached the European Institute of Cognitive Archaeology within weeks. Experts from multiple fields, mathematicians, linguists, computer scientists, arrived to study the stones. One of them was Dr. Elias Carter, a cryptographer known for decoding wartime ciphers. When he examined the spiraling stone arrangement, he immediately recognized a structure familiar to modern data systems. "It looks like a primitive packet routing diagram," he said. The outer stones contained sequences of marks short, long, similar to binary encoding. The inner stones contained more complex repeated shapes, potentially representing nodes or hubs. The central stone, it looked like a map of pathways or data channels. But how could humans from 10,000 years ago create something resembling an information-sharing system? Elias proposed a radical idea. These symbols aren't random. They were used to store, transmit, and retrieve information just without electricity. How would people transmit information without machines? The answer was far stranger than anyone expected. Dr. Helena's team discovered that the stones were not isolated artifacts. They matched carved sequences found in multiple Stone Age sites across northern Europe, separated by hundreds of kilometers and thousands of years. These sites were connected, not physically but symbolically. Each contained repeating sequences that acted like keys, identifiers, or memory triggers. Helena concluded that these stones weren't meant to be used directly. They were part of a training system, a system that turned humans into living data carriers. Imagine a world without writing. Imagine a world where memory is the only storage. Now imagine a society that built a method to compress, encode, and transfer memory between individuals. This was the Stone Age Internet, an electronic network, but a cognitive network. Humans served as servers, individuals with high memory capacity nodes, tribes or groups that held specific categories of knowledge, packets, rituals, or chants that transmitted information, protocols, symbolic rules ensuring accurate transfer. These carved stones were manuals, algorithmic guides designed to train human minds to operate within this system. The Stone Age Internet lived not in devices, but in brains. Researchers noticed a specific detail. The pattern sequences on the stones perfectly matched rhythm structures used in ancient chanting and nomadic oral traditions. These weren't random patterns, they were mnemonic algorithms. Each pattern represented a memory block, a retrieval command, a verification ritual, a method of error correction, a redundancy protocol, just like modern data systems. For example, a spiral pattern meant information must be recalled in expanding circles, creating memory webs. A zigzag sequence indicated verification data must be repeated backward to check accuracy. Clustered dots signaled compression, the ability to summarize entire stories into compact symbolic sequences. This wasn't just memory. This was data management. Thousands of years before computers, the ancients had developed algorithms based on music, movement, and patterns, allowing massive information transfer across large distances within generations. As Helena's research spread, something unexpected happened. More discoveries emerged across the world. In North America, tribal memory stones from 7000 BC carried nearly identical sequencing marks. In Africa, engraved shells from Congo Basin displayed radial networks resembling logic gates. In Asia, patterns found in Siberia matched the same spiral-based memory compression symbols. These cultures never met, but they shared the same algorithmic blueprint. The conclusion rocked the scientific community. Multiple ancient societies independently invented parallel information systems, all based on cognitive algorithms and symbolic patterning. Humanity was not simply surviving. Humanity was organizing, sharing, and storing massive amounts of knowledge without ever writing a single word. This was not coincidence. This was evolution. The next breakthrough came from neural anthropologists studying modern descendants of Stone Age tribes. They performed memory tests on individuals from isolated communities in Australia, Papua New Guinea, and Mongolia. The results were astounding. When taught ancient mnemonic patterns copied from the stones, these individuals demonstrated 35% higher memory retention, 50% faster recall, 70% fewer errors during transfer. It proved that the algorithms were not symbolic, they were functional. The Stone Age people designed their communication methods based on the architecture of the human brain, making information easier to compress, store, and share. This meant ancient humans weren't just randomly singing or chanting, they were performing programs. Memory programs, algorithms created long before mathematics existed on paper. Every network, no matter how advanced, is vulnerable to disruption. For the Stone Age system, the collapse happened gradually. 1. Migration fractured the connections between memory hubs. 2. Climate change forced tribes to relocate, breaking the chains of knowledge transfer. 3. Early writing systems emerged, causing societies to abandon oral algorithms. For new languages replaced old patterns, corrupting the original codes. 5. War and disease wiped out master memorizers, the servers of the Stone Age internet. By 2000 BC, most of the stone-coded memory systems were forgotten, but the traces remained buried beneath soil, hidden in caves, echoed in folk songs, and preserved in rituals that seemed meaningless but once carried structured data. The internet of the Stone Age didn't die. It simply went offline. In late 2024, Elias Carter and Helena Forsberg completed the first full digital reconstruction of the Lake Vargan stones. Using deep learning models and linguistic pattern analysis, they decoded the central spiral for the first time. What they found shook them. The stone didn't contain myths, rituals, or farming knowledge. It contained a meta-algorithm instructions for building the entire memory network, a guide to rebuilding the Stone Age internet. It included node training, memory indexing, checksum memory tests, group synchronization rituals, long-distance transfer techniques, rules for preserving data over generations. It was an ancient blueprint for a global cognitive system, a system designed to keep human knowledge alive long enough for civilization to evolve. The ancients weren't primitive, they were strategic. They built a network not to communicate daily messages but to preserve humanity's most important information for thousands of years, a network designed to outlive time. Once the algorithm was decoded, linguists discovered one final symbol at the center of the stone, a circular mark representing continuity. It meant, knowledge survives when minds are connected. The Stone Age people understood something modern societies often forget. Technology is not the machine, technology is the method, and their method was based on community, memory, shared responsibility, and human-to-human connection. Their internet didn't require electricity, it required trust. Their cloud storage was the human mind. Their servers were the storytellers. Their protocols were rituals. Their algorithms were patterns carved into stone so the future could rediscover them. And now, thousands of years later, we finally have Epilogue. The first internet was human, so what does all of this mean? It means the story of human innovation didn't begin with the computer, or even writing. It began with something far older, far simpler, yet far more powerful. The ability to encode information into memory and transmit it across generations. The Stone Age internet wasn't a digital system, it was a human system. A system written not in binary code, but in rhythm, pattern, sound, and symbol. A reminder that long before we built machines, we built networks, and long before we created the internet, we were the internet. In the Stone Age, survival depended on information, where animals migrate, when seasons change, which plants heal, which plants kill, how to cross rivers, how to avoid predators but without writing, how could tribes store information across generations. The answer: they turned humans into servers. Every tribe selected a few individuals called memory keepers, story transmitters, pattern holders, echo men and echo women. These were not entertainers. They were the databases of prehistory. They trained for years to memorize enormous amounts of data using the carved algorithms found on the stones. Researchers discovered that the carvings weren't just symbols, they were mental training programs. The spiral algorithm, the spiral taught memory keepers how to store information in layers. Each loop held a category. Outer loop equals everyday knowledge, middle loop equals seasonal knowledge, inner loop equals sacred or dangerous knowledge. Center equals the core protocol. This structure acted like a folder system in modern computers. The Zigzag algorithm, this trained error correction. Memory keepers had to repeat knowledge backwards, just like checksum verification in computers. The dot cluster algorithm, this taught information compression. A whole story was condensed into a rhythmic pattern or chant. One rhythm equals hundreds of details. The ancients understood, a human brain remembers rhythm better than information, so they encoded knowledge into rhythm like prehistoric MP3 files. How did tribes pass knowledge from one group to another? They used rituals, but not for religion, for communication. When two tribes met, their memory keepers performed what scientists now call the synchronization ritual. To people sit facing each other. They chant the same pattern, movements mirror each other, breathing synchronizes, heart rates align when their rhythm matched. They began exchanging information. This process increased focus, memory, accuracy, emotional trust, information retention. Modern neuroscience later proved that synchronized chanting boosts communication by 60%. Ancient humans discovered this thousands of years earlier without science. One of the biggest surprises for researchers was that the Stone Age internet did not depend on language. Patterns worked across cultures. If one tribe used short, short, long, short, long, short, another tribe understood, this is a warning pattern. If two tribes saw, they knew, this is a seasonal pattern. These symbols were universal, more universal than modern letters. It was a symbolic internet where meaning was carried by pattern, not words. When Helena's team mapped the locations of stone sites across Europe, they found something stunning. The sites formed lines, perfect pathways between ancient settlements. It was a human data highway. Knowledge moved like this. Tribe A gives passes patterns to Tribe B gives passes updated patterns to Tribe C gives modifies and passes to Tribe D. Within 200 to 300 years, knowledge traveled 500 kilometers, just like data packets in modern network routing. But instead of fiber optic cables, the network used human memory ritual patterns, repeated sequences, migration paths, story cycles. Humans were the wires. Stories were the packets. Patterns were the algorithms. Neuroscientists studying the pattern stones discovered something incredible. These ancient algorithms perfectly match the natural structure of the human brain. The spiral pattern matches the brain's memory hierarchy. The zigzag pattern matches the way the brain verifies recall. The rhythmic patterns match the brain's auditory memory circuit. This meant the ancients reverse-engineered the human mind. They built a communication system designed specifically to work with human biology. While modern society builds machines that resemble the brain, ancient humans built systems inside the brain. The system was brilliant, but not perfect. Human servers grew old. Memories corrupted. Patterns evolved. Some servers died during migration. Wars broke the memory chains. Weather destroyed meeting grounds. Still, the network survived for thousands of years, until writing appeared. Once information could be stored outside the mind, the cognitive network began to weaken. People forgot the algorithms, rituals lost their meaning, patterns became folklore, and humanity's first internet quietly faded away. Outro: a system built from minds. By the end of episode 2, one truth becomes clear. The Stone Age internet was not a myth. It was a real system with data storage, encoding, compression, verification, transfer protocols, network nodes, human servers, and it worked. Modern civilization didn't invent communication. We reinvented something ancient. Next episode reveals a shocking truth. This system wasn't local. It was global. Long before silicon chips, satellites, and cloud servers, there existed a network not built from machines but from minds. A web of thought, memory, and shared instinct that passed across generations. It was invisible, unrecorded, and yet undeniably present. In episode 1, we decoded the idea of the Stone Age internet, the unspoken system through which early humans exchanged knowledge, warnings, stories, and techniques without ever building a physical device. But we only scratched the surface. Now, in episode 2, we enter deeper. How did humans without language, writing, or tools become living servers? How did a species with fragile bodies survive predators, disasters, and competing hominids for thousands of years? The answer lies in a hidden system we are only now beginning to understand. A system built into the human brain. A system that still lives inside us. Chapter 1. The human hard drive. Long before human beings carved symbols on cave walls, they carved memories into their minds. Modern neuroscientists have discovered something astonishing. Humans are hardwired for memory in a far more powerful way than any other species. Where other animals remember habits like migration routes or predator sense, humans remember stories. And stories store data. A story is a compressed file. Small, portable, easy to remember, and tightly packed with information. Consider a simple ancient story. A boy who ignored warnings wandered into the tall grass and never returned. It sounds like a moral tale, right? But encoded within it is data. Tall grass equals danger. Predators hide there. Stay close to the group. Listen to the elders. A 20-second story carries a survival guide. This is the earliest form of data compression. And the storyteller, he is the human server, transmitting packets of compressed data to others. Chapter 2. The rise of cognitive nodes. Around 70,000 years ago, humans experienced what anthropologists call the cognitive revolution, an upgrade in the brain's processing power. Suddenly, humans could imagine things that didn't exist, predict dangers, create complex plans, share ideas, form large groups, build trust with strangers. Most importantly, they could connect. When one human shared a story, others memorized it and added their own versions. The network grew not by tools, but through shared imagination. These connected minds became the first cognitive nodes, hubs of knowledge inside human groups. Some individuals were better at remembering, observing, interpreting, teaching. These became the tribe's living databases. They held the group's medical knowledge, food mapping, migration routes, past disasters, and myths explaining natural forces. When such a person died, the group often performed rituals not just for grief, but because they were losing a server. To prevent data loss, societies developed new mechanisms. Chapter 3. The backup system. Rituals. Every advanced technology has backup systems. So did ancient humans. Rituals, sacred dances, chants, rhythms, repeated actions were not just spiritual, they were memory storage tools. A ritual is a predictable sequence, repeated dozens of times across generations. This repetition ensures information doesn't disappear. Example: a tribe's rain summoning dance might look like religion, but encoded inside the rhythm and steps were agricultural instructions. When certain winds blow gives rains follow, when certain birds migrate gives storms approach, when clouds appear at dusk gives prepare shelter. By performing the dance, the tribe preserved weather prediction knowledge. Rituals equals long-term storage. Songs equals medium-term storage. Stories equals short-term storage. Humans had created, unknowingly, a fully functioning multi-layer data system long before modern computers. Chapter 4. The invisible network in the jungle. Imagine a small clan in the African savanna 60,000 years ago. Across the plains, lions hunt in coordinated patterns. Crocodiles lurk under riverbanks. The nights grow cold. The winds unpredictable. How does a group with no language or writing survive? They use instinctive pattern sharing. One person sees a lion mark. He imitates a claw movement with his hand. Another imitates a crouching posture. A third points toward bushes. Together, without speaking, they build a shared mental model. A lion is hiding there. This is communication through symbolic gestures and ancient packets of visual data. Today, we use emojis. Back then, they used body movements, but both are compressed visual codes. Even babies instinctively understand pointing. This is not learned. It is inherited, a residue of the prehistoric network. Chapter 5. The Brain Cloud. Humans evolved to sync with each other. Modern neuroscience discovered something shocking. When two people tell and listen to a story, their brains literally synchronize. Brainwaves begin mirroring each other. Emotions align. Memories overlap. This creates a temporary, wireless network, a brain cloud. In the Stone Age, when people sat around a fire listening to a narrator, the entire group's brainwaves aligned. Shared emotion gives shared memory. This turned groups into a single collective intelligence, small but powerful. While other species lived as individuals, humans lived as a network. For a network to function, it needs trust. Modern internet uses SSL certificates, encryption, authentication. Ancient humans had something else: reputation systems. If a hunter lied once about a danger, no one listened again. If a gatherer misidentified a poisonous berry, they lost status. Reputation equals authentication. The more reliable a person was, the more bandwidth they got in the group. Their messages traveled faster, spread wider, and were trusted more. The tribe's elders became root servers, primary sources of truth. This system was so effective that it still exists today. Influencers gain followers, scientists earn credibility, teachers gain authority. Nothing has changed. The network remained, only the tools evolved. Caves were not just homes, they were data centers. The walls stored hunting patterns, star maps, animal behaviors, migration warnings, cultural stories, spiritual visions. These paintings weren't art, they were downloadable content. A young hunter would study the cave paintings before joining adult hunts, like watching training videos. As long as the cave survived, the information remained persistent. Some cave paintings are over 40,000 years old, meaning the world's oldest server rooms are older than any nation or religion. When humans became living servers, every tribe had individuals with extraordinary memory capacity. Some could memorize 200 animal behaviors, 50 seasonal patterns, 100 migration routes, 300 medicinal plants, stories of 20 generations, myths explaining natural disasters. These humans were living knowledge servers. They were protected during battles. They were treated with respect. They rarely hunted. To keep them alive, they trained successors. When the tribe moved, these servers walked in the center, protected like a priceless resource. When they slept, guards watched over them. Knowledge was life. Losing a server meant losing your future. This system lasted for tens of thousands of years. Only when writing was invented did the burden on human servers reduce. But even today, this ancient system survives in grandparents who hold family history, rituals, and wisdom. The migration upload. When humans left Africa and migrated across the world, they carried knowledge across continents. Migration wasn't random. It followed food source calculations, climate predictions, star navigation group, psychology, predator mapping. This knowledge was transmitted across groups through shared myths, because a story spreads faster than a map. One myth about a mountain of fire could be a warning about an active volcano. One tale about a great bear spirit might mark dangerous predator territory. Migration wasn't wandering, it was a massive upload procedure, gradually uploading thousands of years of data across continents. The cognitive internet survives, even today. The old network is alive. Viral videos equals modern stories. Social media shares equals tribal communication. Influencers equals reputation. Servers memes equals symbolic compressed packets. Libraries equals data centers. School rituals equals backup systems. Humanity didn't evolve the internet. The internet evolved because humans were already built like this. Technology is just an external version of an internal system. The cognitive network that began in the Stone Age still continues. Billions of minds synced through stories, memories, and imagination. We never disconnected. Epilogue. Episode 3. Preview. The next episode will uncover the most shocking part. Episode 3. The Memory Architects. The Forgotten Humans, who engineered early cognitive systems. Who were the first engineers of the human mind? How did ancient tribes train human servers? Why were certain individuals given forbidden knowledge? And how did this lead to the creation of early religions, symbols, and writing? Thanks for video watching.